One day in January 1978, Chopper Read entered the county court in Melbourne. His plan was to kidnap a judge and hold him hostage until his friend Jimmy Loughnan was released from prison. Chopper managed to sneak past security with a sawn-off shotgun all the way to the judge's bench, where he held the shotgun to the neck of Judge Martin. So far, everything was going according to Chopper's plan.
These are the blunders from down under that made Australia great.
Welcome to this episode of Blunders Down Under, laughable lessons from the past, in which we talk about dumb decisions from the past that have helped make Australia great. I'm Josh McGrath.
And I'm John Gibbs, and today we're talking about Chopper Read, a notorious criminal convicted of armed robbery, assault, arson and kidnapping, but never actually convicted of the murders he claimed to have committed.
So, who was Chopper Read and how did he get his nickname?
Born in 1954, Mark Brandon Read was a victim of domestic violence as a child and became a state ward by the age of 14. He was placed in several mental institutions as a teenager. He became a street fighter and the leader of a gang. He was nicknamed Chopper after the bulldog on the Yankee Doodle cartoon television show.
How did he start in his life of crime?
Chopper's life in crime started with robbing drug dealers. He moved on to kidnapping and torturing other criminals, cutting off their toes with bolt cutters to persuade them to pay him extortion money. He was in Pentridge prison by the age of 20, and while in prison, he struck up a friendship with another hardened criminal, Jimmy Loughnan.
Why did Chopper make a promise to Jimmy Loughnan?
One day, Jimmy Loughnan tried to escape from Pentridge by jumping over the wall. On landing, he had broken both of his ankles, and he was easily recaptured. While he was standing in the yard, Jimmy's feet were blue, and he thought he was going to lose them both. It was raining, and Jimmy was crying. Chopper promised him that when he was out, Chopper would come and get Jimmy.
How did Chopper go about fulfilling his promises?
Well, Chopper's promise to Jimmy was what led to his plan to kidnap a judge. He walked into the county court, and Judge Martin was the first judge that he saw. He quickly jumped up the stairs to the judge's bench and pulled out a hidden shotgun, which he pressed against the judge's throat. Judge Martin made eye contact with his tipstaff, Ernie Trotter, and Ernie nodded to indicate that he was ready to follow the judge's lead.
What did the judge do when he was bailed up by Chopper?
Suddenly, Judge Martin pushed the gun away and dashed through the bench door. Chopper started after him, but Ernie Trotter launched himself at Chopper and pinned him against the doorframe. Chopper was a big, muscular man, but so was Ernie, and they had a wrestling match to get control of the gun. The judge turned around and gave Chopper a big kick in the place where it hurts most.
How did the wrestling match end up?
Police officers who'd been standing just outside the court rushed in and grabbed Chopper by the legs and pulled him away. 6 of them carried him to the side of the court, laid him down on a row of seats and sat on him. They couldn't find any handcuffs, so 2 of them took their belts off to secure his hands and feet.
What happened after Chopper was arrested?
Ernie Trotter was awarded the Queen's Gallantry Medal for his bravery in tackling Chopper Read. Chopper was sentenced to 16 years for the attempted kidnapping, and he wrote to Judge Martin to apologise. The judge wrote back to say he knew it wasn't personal.
What did Chopper do while he was in prison?
Back in prison, Chopper was the leader of the Overcoat Gang. Members of the Overcoat Gang wore long coats to hide weapons which they used against members of a rival prison gang. After hearing that the rival gang was planning to ambush him, Chopper arranged for a fellow inmate to cut off his ears so that he could be transferred to the mental health wing and avoid the ambush.
What did one of Chopper's gang members do to try and help him?
Amos Atkinson, a loyal member of the Overcoat Gang, decided that he would help Chopper get out of prison. Amos held 30 people hostage at the Waiters restaurant, demanding Chopper's immediate release from prison. Some shots were fired, but the siege continued until Amos's mother arrived at the restaurant to act as a negotiator. She hit Amos over the head with a handbag and told him to stop being so stupid. so Amos surrendered.
Back in prison, what plan did Chopper come up with?
Chopper later hatched a plan to win the gang war. His plan involved crippling every other inmate in the division. The other members of his gang thought this was going too far, so they stabbed him in a sneak attack, and he almost died. Jimmy Loughnan had repaid Chopper's efforts to free him with treachery. Jimmy was later killed in a prison fire.
How did Chopper start to become popular in the media?
During his time in prison, news reporters discovered that Chopper could always be relied on for a quick and entertaining one-line comment on matters relating to the criminal underworld. As his reputation as a connoisseur of the underworld grew, he collaborated with journalist John Sylvester to release a series of books loosely based on his life. Books which Sylvester describes as the greatest crime committed against literature.
What did Chopper do on his release from prison?
Chopper was finally released from prison in 1998, and he became a media personality. He was interviewed by comedian Libby Gore on the McFeast Live television show, during which he gave a graphic account of feeding a man into a cement mixer. He put on a stage show in Sydney with the disgraced former detective Roger the Dodger Rogerson, and made regular appearances on various comedy shows.
Apart from comedy shows, what else did Chopper do?
The film Chopper, released in 2000, is based on his life. Chopper was recruited to appear in television advertisements, warning of the dangers of drunk driving and speaking out against domestic violence. He wrote a children's book, Hooky the Cripple, the grim tale of a hunchback who triumphs. And it's obvious from the title that the book wasn't going to find a home in many school libraries.
How did Chopper eventually die?
Chopper had contracted hepatitis C in prison, so he struggled for the rest of his life with liver disease. In 2012, he was formally diagnosed with liver cancer, and in 2013, he died at the age of 58.
Well, what's the moral of this story?
If you're sick of leading a life of crime and are looking for a new career option, perhaps you could try becoming a comedian and storyteller.